بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. وقاية الله أغنت عن مضاعفة، وقاية الله أغنت عن مضاعفة من الذروع وعن عالم من الأثم، من الذروع وعن عالم من الأثم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. ما من الدهر ضيما واستجرت به، ما من الدهر ضيما واستجرت به إلا ونلت جوارا منه لم يضمي، إلا ونلت جوارا منه لم يضمي. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. ولن تمس غنى الدارين من يده، ولن تمس غنى الدارين من يده إلا استلمت الدنا، إلا استلمت الندى من خير مستلم، إلا استلمت الندى من خير منه مستسلم، إلا استلمت الندى من خير مستلم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. ولن تمس غنى الدارين من يده، ولن تمس غنى الدارين من يده إلا استلمت الندى من خير مستلم، إلا استلمت الندى من خير مستلم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. لا تنكر الوحي من رؤياه إن له، لا تنكر الوحي من رؤياه إن له قلبا إذا نامت العينان لم ينم، قلبا إذا نامت العينان لم ينم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. وذاك حين بلوغ من نبوته، وذاك حين بلوغ من نبوته فليس ينكر فيه حال محتلم، سلامي فليس ينكر فيه حال محتلمي مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. تبارك الله ما وحي بمكتسب تبارك الله ما وحي بمكتسب ولا نبي على غيب بمتهم ولا نبي على غيب بمتهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. آيات الغر لا يخفى على أحد آياته الغر لا يخفى على أحد بدونها العدل بين الناس لم يقم بدونها العدل بين الناس لم يقم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. كم أبرأت والصبا باللمس راحته كم أبرأت وصبا باللمس راحته واطلقت أربا من ربقة الأمام وأطلقت أربا من ربقة الأمام مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. وأحيت السنة الشهباء دعوته وأحيت السنة الشهباء دعوته حتى حكت غرة في الأعصر الدهم حتى حكت غرة في الأعصر الدهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. بعارض جاد أو خلت البطاح بها بعارض جاد أو خلت البطاح بها سيبا من اليم أو سيلا من العرم سيبا من اليم أو سيلا من العرم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. We continue with the 5th chapter of Qaseedah Burdah, in which the various miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are mentioned various miracles of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam displayed during the da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The translation of the first two poems, Allama Busairi says, وَقِقَايَةُ اللَّهِ أَغْنَتْ أَنْ مُزَاعَفَةٍ مِنَ الدُّرُوعِ وَعَنْ عَالٍ مِنَ الْأُتُومِ. Duru' refers to armors that a person wears in war to protect himself, and utum refers to forts. The translation is, the protection of Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has dispensed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from double armors and from high forts. Previously, Allama Busairi rahmatullahi was discussing about Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam making hijrat from Makkah Mukarramah to Madinatul Munawwara, and how Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala protected Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And in these poems, Allama Busairi further expands on that, and he says that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not need to wear double armors. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not need to take refuge on high forts, but he was under the divine protection of Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. And to explain that, it will be interesting to know the incident of hijrat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The kuffar of Makkah, they gathered in Darun Nadwa, discussing how to deal with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So somebody said that we should banish Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Makkah Mukarramah. But this opinion was rejected. They all knew that how much of respect Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded in and around Makkah, in the outskirts of Makkah. And if he's going to go in the outskirts of Makkah, all those people that so dearly love Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam will go and attach themselves to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then they will make a joint attack on us. They also had a very political mind, and they understood the consequences of this. Somebody suggested that then we should rather imprison Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, put him in jail. So this idea was also rejected. That if we're going to imprison him, then all his supporters will keep on confronting us. So finally Abu Jahl said, the best way to get rid of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to kill Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that too, every tribe of Makkah should take part in the killing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, no people will just stand up against us, because they can't stand up against the entire tribe for the blood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The plan was chalked out. Many youngsters, strong, brave people from the people of Makkah, they surrounded the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes out, that's the time they will assassinate and they will kill Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala sent wahi and revelation to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam now to leave the house. So Allah Ta'ala wanted to show His power and His qudrat. The kuffar were already around the house, and in the center of all, the Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam leaves the house and he comes out. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu to sleep on his bed and cover himself with the sheet of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, if by chance, if the non-Muslims have to enter the house of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would see somebody sleeping on the bed, and they would have no idea that it is anyone else besides Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam recites Surah Yasin, and he leaves the home, and when he comes to this point, فَأَخْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ فَأَخْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ, repeats this verse, and then he, in the center of the kuffar, he leaves the house and he goes to the house of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam informed Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu about having order from Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala now to make hijrat. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala joins Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and both of them go to a cave of Thawr. And that is where Allama Busairi in the previous chapter, in the previous verses, speaks about how Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala protected Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with a pigeon and with a spider. During the 3 days that Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Abu Bakr Siddiq were in the cave, so this is what Allama Busayri is referring to, that he was under divine protection. There was no need for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to wear two armors, and there was no need for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to take refuge in high forts. He was under divine protection from the side of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. When Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they were in the cave, so every night, the son of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala, Abdullah, he would come and visit Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Abu Bakr Siddiq, give information to them about what is happening in Makkah Mukarramah, and early part of the morning, he would leave and he would be in Makkah Mukarramah Kaba'it, as though he spent the night in Makkah Mukarramah. People would have no idea that he secretly left Makkah and he went somewhere else. Asma radiallahu ta'ala anha, the sister of Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, daughter of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, would prepare food for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr, for every one of those 3 nights, give it to her brother, and she would then go and give it to, and he would then go and give it to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After 3 days, on the 1st of Rabiul Awwal, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam left the cave. And it was over that period of time, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr Siddiq, they traveled to Madinatul Munawwara. With them was Amir ibn Fuhaira, the slave of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and another non-Muslim who served as a guide. His name was Abdullah ibn Ariqat. On the way, there's so much of protection from the side of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and the famous incident of Suraqa ibn Malik have taken place. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala says, I turned back, I saw behind one person coming on horseback. And I kept on looking. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would not even look. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was aware that there's somebody behind, but out of fear, I kept on looking. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not even look. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was making tilawat of the Quran Kareem, and it was as though that Suraqa was hearing the recitation of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He came so close by. Suddenly, his horse gave into the ground. Got stuck into the ground. One time he tried to take it out, it came out, again it went. Second time he tried to take it out, again it went. Third time, he then beseeches and he says, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, oh Muhammad, you make dua to Allah to take me out from this. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam makes dua, and then he was so overwhelmed, a certain type of nur and light came out from that ground, which Suraqa ibn Malik Mughlaji also saw. He then tells to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, oh Muhammad, take my camel. I've got some food also with me, take that also. Nabi Sallallahu mentioned, you didn't accept Islam, I can't accept your invite. But the most you can do, you go back to Makkah and tell anybody that's coming in this direction that the road is clear. Same person, Suraqa, he goes back to Makkah. And then after a few days, he was still shocked with this incident. After a few days, he then confronts Abu Jahl. And he tells Abu Jahl this entire incident. He says that I know, and even you know, that Muhammad is al-Haq. Why don't we just accept his religion? So this is what Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala speaks about, the wiqaya, the divine protection from the side of Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Ma samani ad-dahru bayman wastajartu bihi illa wa niltu jawaram minhu lam yubami. Bayman refers to oppressed. Allama Busayri says that whenever time frustrated me with any distress, at times, facing challenges in life, you get sad, you get upset, you get grief, you get the state of depression. So whenever I went into that condition in life, especially Allama Busayri speaking in the context of him being a sick person and a person that having paralysis, he said, I took refuge in him, took refuge in Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And I received support from him which was not misused. This type of the poem, somebody may think, you're supposed to take refuge in Allah. Why take refuge in Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Tawheed, that only Allah protects, nobody else protects. What is meant by taking refuge in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? When a person got correct aqidah, correct belief, and when he makes a statement, you try to interpret it according to his understanding and according to his correct belief. And it is well known, all the ulama unanimous, that Allama Busayri was from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and he was the person that had correct aqidah, correct belief. So this statement means that he took refuge in Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala through the wasila of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala tells us in the Quran Kareem, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqullah wabtahu ilayhi al-wasila. That all you who believe, that you seek wasila, a means to Almighty Allah. And who can be more closer to Allah than Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? وَلَا إِلْتَمَسْتُ غِنَى الدَّارَيْنِ مِنْ يَدِهِ إِلَّا اسْتَلَمْتُ النَّدَى مِنْ خَيْرِ مُسْتَلَمِ. Istalamtu, it means to get something. Or it also could mean to kiss. So the translation is that I did not seek the wealth of the two worlds from his hand. Allama Busayri is saying that I did not seek the wealth of the two worlds from his hands, from the hands of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but I kissed a hand that could be the best hand that can be kissed. In other words, whenever I asked Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala in the wasila of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam of some worldly difficulty, and obviously the difficulty of the akhirat, then indeed it was granted through the wasila of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. لا تنكر الوحي من رؤياه إن له قلبا إذا نامت العينان لم ينومي. The translation: do not deny that the dreams of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam are wahi, revelation. For verily, his heart does not sleep when his eyes are asleep. It is mentioned in one hadith, a group of malaika, they came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam while Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asleep. So one group is telling to the other group, Inna lahu masalan fadrib lahu masala. This is an example of him, of referring to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Give an example. So the other group of angels are saying, but he's sleeping. If we want to give an example about him, it's meant to honor him. But if he's sleeping, what's the point of giving the example? So the other group says that his eyes are sleeping, his eyes are sleeping, but his heart is awake. And Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has also mentioned, Inna aynayya tanam wa la yanamu qalbi. That when I sleep, maybe my eyes outwardly are sleeping, but my heart is awake. And that is why Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, not only Allah's Nabi, Rasulullah Alaihi Wasallam, but all the Anbiya, when they sleep, their hearts are awake, and that is why even in the sleep they get wahi and they get revelation. And this is referred to in the Quran Kareem, wherein Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala speaks about the dream of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Inni ara fil manam, anni asbahuka fandur maza tara. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is sleeping. In the dream, Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala tells him, slaughter your son Ismail. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam sees a dream. But this was not while he was a Nabi, young age. Inni ra'aytu ahada ashara kawkaba wa shamsa wal qamar ra'aytuhum li sajidin. So Allama Busayri rahmatullah speaks about this one kamal of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he says that any wahi that comes in his dream, don't deny it, because his eyes are sleeping but his heart is awake. And further he explains about the wahi, وَذَاكَ حِينَ بُلُوغٍ مِّن نُبُوَّتِهِ فَسَيْسَ يُنْكَرْ فِيهِ حَالُ مُحْتَلَمِ. And this wahi that came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it was during the age of nubuwwat. The age of nubuwwat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was 40 years. And then he says that those dreams that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saw at that time, at the age of nubuwwat, before getting wahi. At the age of nubuwwat, just when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam reached almost 40, those dreams that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to get, that nobody could ever deny the haqiqat and the reality of the dreams. This is further understood from the hadith that is in Bukhari Sharif in the first volume under Babu Bad'ul Wahi. Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala says that 6 months before Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could get wahi and revelation, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to see true and pious dreams. Misla falaq as-sabh. The true and pious dreams were like the brightness of the morning. Nobody can deny the brightness of the morning. Likewise, whatever dreams Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to see at night, in the following day, it used to turn out to be an absolute haqiqat and reality. And in this way, Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala was making tarbiyat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That whatever information from the ghaib is coming to make the heart of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you get used to it, that information is absolutely true and there's no doubt in that. And that first commenced through the dreams. So that soon wahi is going to come. There's also information from the ghaib like dreams. So through dreams, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala was training Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to get used to information from the ghaib. And this happened for 6 months. The ulama mentioned something very ajib. In Kitab al-Ru'ya, in Bukhari Sharif, in the 2nd volume, there's a hadith. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is reported to have mentioned, لَمْ يَبْقَ مِنَ النُّبُوَّةِ إِلَّا الْمُبَشِّرَاتِ. That nubuwwat has come to an end, but there's one thing that remains, mubashirat, true dreams, pious dreams, that people may have. That is, and according to one hadith, 146th of nubuwwat. Now, how did 146th of nubuwwat, a person get a new and true pious dream, ru'ya salihah? So how is that 146th of nubuwwat? Ulama had explained that 6 months before Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could get wahi, he would get these true dreams. And the nubuwwat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was for 23 years. In 23 years, there's 6 months. And in this way, anybody that gets true and pious dreams, it is as though it is 146th of nubuwwat the person have got. So Allama Busayri Rahmatullah speaks about the dreams of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, true and pious dreams. And probably it may be a little bit interesting if I just expand a little bit on dreams. Very, very briefly, ulama mentioned that sometimes the person will get dreams, it's just a reflection of the mind. If somebody is in the accounting field, every day, every time he's working with numbers, 10, 20s, and then the zeros add up to 3 to 4 to 6 zeros and going into millions, day in, day out is counting. And now at night he's sleeping, and then he sees that only numbers in his dreams. So that is not any dream, that's a reflection of the mind. What he's doing whole day, that's what is being reflected in the dream. You don't need interpretation for that. Then you get another type of a dream, which is that from the shaitan. Shaitan put whispers in the mind. And sometimes such frightening dreams people may see, they think that my future is destined to be very bad. Whereas there's no need to get frightened with that. When a person sees such kind of dreams, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam advised that on that side, wake up, read La Hawla wa La Quwwata Illa Billah, spit 3 times, and then you just sleep away. One Sahabi used to get very frightening dreams. He came and told Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Nabi Sallallahu gave him this prescription. He said, after I wouldn't even care and I wouldn't bother. And then there are other dreams, you get true, naked and pious dreams. Those are the type of dreams that require interpretation. But I noticed that it's becoming a norm among many people. They would get this book, Interpretation of Dreams, of Muhammad ibn Sirin rahmatullahi. Now anybody would get dreams, now they want to know like what the future is holding for them. They would get hold of that book, they would read that thing, make their own interpretation. Sometimes a dream may be good, but they read it in a bad book that it's got a bad meaning. It takes away the happiness of the person unnecessarily, it brings grief into that person. Dreams, you cannot get the correct and proper interpretation of the dream by reading those books. That dreams, you got to need correct and proper skills. And sometimes dreams outwardly may seem to be a bad dream. Meanwhile, it may even have a good interpretation. One person, he came to Muhammad ibn Sirin rahmatullahi and told to him that I propose to get married to a girl, and I made istikhara for that. Before I could propose for that girl, I had made istikhara whether I should propose for that girl or not. So, see, I looked at her in real life. She was very, very good looking, and she was very tall. But when I made istikhara, then what showed in my istikhara is that she's not good looking. She's ugly and she's short. So Muhammad is now, if somebody has to look at that outwardly, maybe the dream is negative. So you go to a person to interpret the dream. So Muhammad ibn Sirin was an expert in interpretation of the dreams. He told, go get married to a woman very, very fast. The person was shocked. Is this not like going into the lion's den? So Muhammad ibn Sirin then explained. Yet you see, in real life she's tall, and in the dream you saw that she's short. This actually means that she's got a she won't be living for too long. She's got a short lifespan. And in real life she's good looking, but the dream you saw that she's ugly, it means she's got a lot of wealth. So you get married to her, she'll pass away quickly, and then you'll inherit her wealth. Now see, what somebody thought about the dream, and what the dream turned out to be. One person came to Muhammad ibn Sirin, and told him, sometimes dreams are interpreted according to the seasons. In summer, it's one interpretation. That same dream in winter would be another interpretation. One person came to Muhammad ibn Sirin and told to him that he had the azan in the dream. So Muhammad ibn Sirin gave him bashar and glad tidings that okay, you're going to go for Hajj. And after some time, another person, he came and he told him that I heard the azan in my dream. So Muhammad ibn Sirin told the people around him, catch him. Looks like he's a thief. The people were surprised. Two of them sing azan, but one person going for Hajj and one person is a thief. So they asked Muhammad ibn Sirin. Say, I looked at the first person, his face. Then my mind went to the ayat of the Quran Kareem. Azan, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالٍ وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ. Where Allah Tabarak speaks about Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam azan about Hajj. And the other person, وَأَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ بَيْنَهُمَا اللَّعْنَةُ اللَّهِ. That about, in Surah Yusuf is speaking about that where the person told that announce somebody has taken that royal container away. So sometimes you look at dream according to that. And why I'm saying this, there are sometimes, especially at our Darul Iftar, mashallah, Friday mornings, the phones come left, right and center from all over. And most of them are coming from women. Musab, I had this dream and I had that dream. Interpret this dream, interpret that dream. And sometimes unnecessarily people get in a state of grief and depression. Whereas sometimes dream, and alhamdulillah, some of the dreams that people get, ru'ya salihah. They're very neck, very pious dreams. Imam Abu Hanifa told to Imam Abu Yusuf, when the awam tell you about their ru'ya salihah, then don't deny it, and there's a possible Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala inspires them in that way. Anyway, going on further, Tabarakallah ma wahyun bimuktasabi, wala nabiyyun ala ghayrin bimuttahami. Tabarakallah, ba barakat, blessed. Allah is blessed that no wahi is earned. Wahi is not earned. It is ghair ikhtiyari, involuntary, it is istifa, it is chosen from the side of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and no Nabi can be ever accused of speaking lies from the information that he received from the ghaib. Ayatuhu al-ghurru la yakfa ala ahadin, biduniha al-adlu bayna al-nasi lam yakumi. Here, ayat could refer to one of the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the form of the ayat of the Quran Kareem. The ayat of the Quran Kareem, which are very, very clear, bright, they are not concealed upon anyone. And without the ayat of the Quran Kareem, justice among people cannot be established. Insaf, justice, fairness, equity in the dunya, it can only happen with the Quran Kareem. It can only happen by divine order. And it is that the rules and the principles of man are deficient. Man is deficient. Whatever man devises is also deficient. Only Allah is perfect. So it is only with the divine design of Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala that we can see real justice and fairness in the dunya. And that ayat through which insaf, justice can be established in this world, it was revealed upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then Allama Busayri rahmatullahi, he goes on further to say, Kam abra'at wasaban bil lamsi rahatuhu wa atlaqat ariban min ribqatil lamami. Wasaban refers to an ill person. And ariban, it refers to freeing a person, and lamami refers to insanity. The translation is, how often did the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam cure a sick person by his touch? And how often did the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam set free the insane person from the chains of insanity? Another two miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been mentioned. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, very often somebody was sick, somebody was not well, And with the touch of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, people got cured. And the books of hadith are replete with such incidents. An incident we mentioned about Hazrat Qaseedah ibn Nu'man radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He took part in the battle of Uhud. And one enemy struck him and his eye came out from the socket, as though his eye was hanging from the socket. He comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and he says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm married. I love my wife loves me. If I'm going to go home like this, where one eye is in the socket and one eye is out of the socket, then what is going to happen of me? I'll lose my wife. She probably will chase me away. Because which wife would like to see that sight of the husband? So Qaseedah ibn Nu'man radiallahu ta'ala says, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with his Mubarak hand, he took that socket of the eye and placed it back inside that pupil, that eye, placed it back inside the socket. And he says that eye turned out to be even more beautiful and even more better looking than the other eye. As though he's going to go back home where his wife will love him even more. And not only that, he says that in old age, that eye that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam placed in the socket, that was even more stronger than the other eye. So this was an incident that Allah Tabarak was given such kamalat to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you would cure the sick person. What was given to Isa alayhi salatu wasalam to cure the sick people, Allah the Rasul was granted that by Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. In the Battle of Khaybar, I referred to it the other day. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentioned, La u'tiyanna raya, I'm going to give that flag ila rajulin yuhibbuhu Allah wa rasuluhu wa yuhibbu Allah wa rasulah. I'm going to give the flag to such a person that loves Allah and the Rasul, and he loves Allah and the Rasul. And Allah and the Rasul also loves him. So, everybody was looking who that person could be. In the morning, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam called for Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Now, Ali radiallahu ta'ala was complaining about Ramadan. Ramadan means that watery eyes. He came and complained to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam took his saliva, spit, and placed it on the eyes of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala. Immediately, the watery eyes stopped. Incident mentioned in Bukhari in the second volume in Kitab al-Maghazi about Abdullah ibn Atiq, Sahabi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent him and a group of Sahaba on a mission for Abu Rafi'. So, he said that he went into a palace of Abu Rafi', and then when he was coming down, it was in moonlight, he miscalculated, missed a step, and he fell down. Now remember, right in the center of the palace, he just had a mission accomplished, and he is now trying to move away from the palace, and his leg breaks. Say, I took out my amama, and I tied my leg up. Hopping, somehow I came out of the palace. And then finally, when I went to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, imagine from where, right in the borders of Sham, with a broken leg, with that amama tying his leg, what pain he must have went through being in the path of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Then he comes to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a broken leg, hopping leg, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, this is what happened. I miscalculated and I broke my leg. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, spread your leg out. It is as though he was now in the operating theater. No anesthetic, no nothing, no orthopedic surgeon, nothing. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, spread your leg out. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed his hand over the leg. Immediately the leg healed. Now can you imagine that bone breaking? That you go to anybody had a broken leg, it takes sometimes months for the leg to heal. But Allah the Rasul passed his hand over that broken leg and immediately it healed up. Likewise, one Sahabi blind, Uthman ibn Hanif radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He came to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, I don't have eyesight, I'm blind. Zarirul basar. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, make sabr. That's better for you. But if you want me to make dua, I'll make dua for you. So, Nabi Kareem, he requested, Ya Rasulullah, I want eyesight. You make dua for me. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, okay, go and make this dua. Allahumma inni as'aluka wa atawajjahu ilayka bi Muhammad nabiyyir rahmah. And then the dua goes on. That, oh Allah, I ask of you in the wasila. I ask of you in the name of Muhammad. Muhammad who is nabiyyir rahmah, that you grant me back my eyesight. He made this dua, and then with what Nabi Sam prescribed to him to make dua, that Almighty Allah Ta'ala given that eyesight to this person. So Allama Busayri speaks about that how often did the hand of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cure a sick person by his touch. And then he further mentions, and how often did the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam set free the insane from the chains of insanity. There are some people who are possessed by jinnat. And the jinnat makes that person like insane, controlling, possess the person. And Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was able to instruct the jinnat to come out of that person. In an incident mentioned in Ibn Majah Sharif. In one Sahabi, Hazrat Osman ibn Abil As radiallahu ta'ala. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam appointed him to be the Imam there in Ta'if. So he came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and he complained, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, whenever I stand up on the Musalla, suddenly I forget. I'm unable to recite ayat of the Quran Kareem. I'm unable to make imamat. So Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him, come here, come here. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam touched him on the forehead, on the chest, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him, Ukhruj minha. Address the jinnah that was inside, that was possessing him, that was troubling him, get out of this person. And no sooner than Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said this, immediately Osman ibn Abil As radiallahu ta'ala was cured, and then he would not lose his memory again when he was on the Musalla. So this is what Allama Busayri rahmatullahi refers to, وَأَطْلَقَتْ أَرِبًا مِنْ رِبْقَةِ اللَّمَمِ, and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam set free the insane for the chains of insanity. وَأَحْيَتِ السَّنَةَ الشَّهْبَاءَ دَعْوَتَهُ حَتَّى حَكَتْ غُرَّةً فِي الْأَعْصُرِ الدُّهُمِ بِعَارِضٍ جَادَ أَوْ خِلْتَ الْبِطَاحَ بِهَا سَيْبًا مِنَ الْيَمِّ أَوْ سَيْلًا مِنَ الْعَرِمِ. Sana here refers to drought. Shahba, it refers to intense drought. In the second poem, Ghurra refers to brightness. A'asur, it refers to times. And Duhum, it refers to the blackness of the times or very challenging times. The translation is, one of the miracles of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is that his dua, his making dua, brought life to the year of drought. When there was drought, he would make dua, then Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala would send down the rains. Until it was reported that there is white spot in black times. In other words, in black times, challenging times, as though everything looks black, everything looks bleak. And when Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would make dua, the rain would come down as though that bleakness would remove and that blackness will change into whiteness. That means that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala would send down the rains. Now this, and then he further explains that what kind of rains? بِعَارِزٍ جَادَ أَوْ خِلْتَ الْبِحَا بِطَاحَ بِهَا سَيْبًا مِنَ الْيَمِّ أَوْ سَيْلًا مِنَ الْأَرِمِ. Bita refers to a huge valley, and Yam refers to the oceans or rivers, and Aram, it refers to a dam. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam makes such dua that the rains will come down, it will come down, it would bring life to a year of drought through a cloud that was generous, until you would think that the rain that is coming down, it is water that is flowing from the ocean, or you think it is water that is flowing from the dam of Iram. Now in this, Allama Busayri rahmatullah concludes this 5th chapter with another miracle of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It is mentioned in the books of Hadith under Salatul Istisqa. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam one Friday giving the Friday khutbah. It was at a time of drought, there was no rains. One villager comes and he says, Ya Rasulullah, make dua. There's no rains. The crops have dried up. The animals are suffering. People are suffering. Make dua, Allah gives rain. Nabi Kareem starts in the center of the khutbah. He makes dua. Oh Allah, send down the rains. Sahabis say they looked up in the skies. It was completely clear. No sooner Allah's Rasul made dua that the clouds came rushing forth from all the directions. And it was as though there was a crown in the center of Medina. And then there was heavy rains that came down whilst Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was giving the khutbah. So they came in a masjid, it was hot, there was no rain. And now they leave the masjid, there was heavy rain coming down. This rain carried on for an entire week. The following week, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is again standing on the khutbah, on the mimbar and give a khutbah. One person stands up, Ya Rasulullah, make dua. Too much of rain coming down. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam smiled. You don't have rain, you complain. You get rain, you still complain. So Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam make dua. Allahumma hawalayna la alayna. Allah, you send down the rain, but let the rain come around us. Don't let the rain come directly on us. We don't need the rain to come on us. We need the rain water. So the clouds also moved away until again, now just as the previous week, there was no clouds, all the clouds came and it came right in the center. Now the clouds moved away as though they were a crown in Medina once again. People came from the outskirts of Medina and they asked if it was rain. They said there's heavy rain there, but all the rain was coming over on this side here. So Allama Busayri rahmatullah speaks about this great ni'mat and bounty of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, that Allah Rasul would make dua, and the dua of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam at the time of drought would also come down. And say that rain that used to come down, it used to come down sayyibam minal yam. It will come down flowing like it is water flowing from the ocean, or it is like the water that is flowing from the dam of Iram. Iram, it refers to the nation of Sabah, and inshallah after Zuhur I will explain on that and we'll conclude with that inshallah. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.